What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again. And yeah, I've finally recovered. I didn't realize by the time I got done with that video last night, it was 3 a.m. on the East Coast here with the time change. And yeah, I was kind of feeling it today. But listen, I took a nap before this game, and I'm glad I did because it was a fun one to wake up and watch. And it really hadn't not a whole lot to do with the game. It was just the atmosphere that was around everything. I mean, this is what football should be. The atmosphere, what the fans were feeling, people being riled up, ready to go. I mean, it was just a fun experience all the way around. It was really weird. It was like in between. It was like this pseudo college feel. I mean, it really does kind of feel like DC in that aspects, because they've got a rowdy crowd. This was probably twice as rowdy as that and twice as large. You had literally 38,000 people there in the dome. It was crazy. It was just fun to watch this game. And from the get-go, you just kind of figured that this Renegades team wasn't going to be able to hang with this BattleHawks team. The BattleHawks, they came out, and they actually came out ready to go in this game. You could definitely tell that they were feeding off of the crowd. They were feeding off of their coach. Things were going well for them. I really don't have a whole lot of qualms with things. It seems like the switch from FX to ESPN2 has, really, helped in that atmosphere and in that thing. There's still a little bit of stuff here. They're starting to figure out that all access. Give me the all access afterwards, after, not after the play's done right then and there, but like those tidbits where the coach gets mad and he says something he probably shouldn't, or they have these conversations that give you light into the game. When things slow down, give me those, right before the commercial, when you're coming back from the commercial break, that type of a thing. I don't really want it right there breaking in the middle of the game. I don't want a split screen. I don't want, any of the other stuff. I felt like I'm, on the one touchdown pass last night, I'm like, wait a second, it was almost like I left the room and came back in and something happened while I was gone, but I never left the room. I just was on the wrong screen because of the production. But all in all, this game was fantastic with that. Let's go ahead though. Let's go ahead and look at this. Just break down some of the stuff. So Kyle Sloter, listen, the guy had. He had, it looks like a terrible day. He had 3 interceptions, and yeah, he was forcing things towards the end of the game. And, a couple of those interceptions were they were just behind and needed to try to catch up and figure some things out. I mean, that was just the reality of it. 23 for 39. I was actually surprised that he was that well. I mean, he had, especially early on, wide receivers dropping balls left and right. And again, it goes back to the fact of they need to find a guy that can step up and be the guy for them. And they need that star power there, and they just don't have it. And it has nothing to do with the quarterbacks. And really, Sloter, he's not the guy that I would really say that he needs to be pulled. I think he's better than Plitt in this situation, in this scenario. You've got Devion Smith and Farrow, and both of these guys are not your dynamic type of running guys. And so if they need to find a star, maybe they need to go out and see if they can find a running back who's just electric, a super crazy athlete, and maybe get them the ball. Devion Smith, that's not his wheelhouse, and neither it is with Farrow. Both of these guys are really good at falling forward, getting you 3-4 yards on a carry, on a draw play or something like that. They're very good at pass protection. They're good at catching the ball out of the backfield. But outside of that, that's really about it. And, I would expect that from these guys to be getting about 3 yards a carry. That's just, kind of, how I see it when it comes to that. Looking at these receivers on this team. Sal Calanella, I mean, can I say really any more? He's their go-to guy, but he literally is getting double teamed. I mean, they're covering him high and low, and he's really drawing that just because they're not really getting anything from anybody else. I think Tyler Vaughn's was supposed to be their guy there, but the thing with Vaughn's is, and you kind of notice it, like he'll be, and I'm not saying that it's all on him, but he just, where other wide receivers will find ways to get that 1 foot in, he never seems to find that. And it just seems like they can never, they'll get a hit here and there where they'll connect, but it's nothing ever really able to, be sustained, or they got a go-to guy other than Sal Calanella, and he'll get his shots, but when it comes to being able to get him the ball when they need it and step up, they just don't have that guy. And that's really, this offense is missing that. And part of it too is, I've said this before, they need to stretch the field, take those opportunities, not necessarily when the game is past you, but when the game is still at hand. Take advantage of the defense, maybe playing tight, close, and take some shots, take some opportunities, give guys like Smallwood, who I know could possibly be your guy, but you need to get him, some other stuff. Vanderchat, I mean, he had the one nice catch where he pulled it away from the defender. Maybe that might be Vaughn's too, but you need to really stretch that field. I think if they can stretch the field, that'll open up the run game as well. They need to quit being so dang conservative, though. Dinking and dunking here and there, and 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I mean, they're in this league. If they want to be one of the best teams in this league, now right now they're 500. And in the South, that might get them into the playoffs. But if they want to win the whole thing, win the whole shebang, the championship, they need to find a way to take this offense to a different level. And instead of dinking and dunking, they need to find ways to make dynamic plays. And they just don't have those dynamic playmakers, at least that they're showing or giving those the opportunity. Yeah, they're going to win some games with their defense. And, today their defense did not show up, and it showed up in the score. They've been scoring, what they have been scoring, but the BattleHawks just took it to them on their offensive side. They had over 300 and some odd yards to what the Renegades had. So all in all, I was kind of surprised, but yeah, so if you look at it, they're running 55 plays, bothly about the same, but you've got 240 yards to 324 yards there. So, I mean, that's a huge difference in this game. Now let's go ahead and let's go back and let's look at what the BattleHawks have done in this game, because this is the kind of where it shines. And AJ McCarron's been playing well. He had the one ball, that was picked off. That wasn't a great throw, but really 20 for 27, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. You can't really ask for more than that, really. I mean, he did a fantastic job. And so the other thing that I kind of want to mention here is that their running game, Hill is a really, really good option for them here, and I'm glad that they finally decided that they were going to start running the ball earlier and stick with it. Hill is a guy to where I think that he can get you above 75 yards every game. 15 carries, 75 yards every game like clockwork. He looked really nice. And the type of runs that they're trying to run, which is... And it's designed in this offense. This is not a ground and pound type of a run where you're lining up, you're hitting hat on hat. What they're doing is the whole idea is they're kind of running one direction or the other direction, and the idea is that the blockers are picking up guys that they're going, and then the running back is going to go ahead and find the crease and hit it and go. And the whole point is that as you're playing, as you're getting going, that those type of runs will gash like they did 9 yards, 10 yards, 7 yards, 11, 12. That's what they're trying to do with that run game. This run game isn't a lineup and, we're going to go, come right at you. We're going to have our blocking schemes, with our stunts and things like that, or our traps, or whatever you want to look at it. That's not what's going to happen here. And so, Durant's not that type of runner. And you can kind of tell that with it. Walker it was all right, but he didn't really get get as much there with it, but I really like Hill in where they're doing it. And Shepard, boy, did Shepard show up today. I was really impressed with him. I kept thinking it was Austin Prohl, but it wasn't. It was Shepard. And Prohl played his role. He's got his role. He's a go-to guy. He's a dump-off guy. That's how he is. That's what he plays. He's a sure hands, and he does well. And then, of course, Butler. Butler's just, you throw it up, and yeah, that 6'6" frame is going to catch that ball, and that's what he does. And when you start getting down there towards the end zone, you throw it up, let him run underneath it and catch it. I thought it was great. Hill did a good job out of the backfield. Like I said, I'm really, really liking Hill, but I've said that before. This is really a team that's really, really come together. They're starting to look really, really, really nice. And you can tell Gradkowski's offense, they're starting to open it up a little bit more. And you're starting to now see just kind of the intricacies that they're having and the matchups that they're creating. And, that as they're over time, taking advantage of it. The defense, no huge real standouts here for me on the defense here. I just thought that the guys, they played well. It wasn't terrible. So yeah, you also had Kelly, what a way to get down there and get that interception. That was crazy there with it. Hats off to you. Seriously though, all in all, this was a fun experience. The crowd was rocking. The home team was having fun, and they had a really, really nice big win for them. I think that the Renegades are going to be a little reeling right now, trying to figure out what to do, and hopefully they can figure things out on offense. Because if they can figure out offense, I think that that will bode well for them. Their defense is fairly decent. They got handed to them today a little bit, but their offense didn't really help them out a whole lot with the three turnovers and picks. So it was a fun game. Enjoyed it. Loved seeing that crowd. And hopefully after this, some of the other cities will start to get more and more fans, and we'll start to get atmospheres like this where the home field is really an advantage. So those are my thoughts on the first game. Whew, that was a sloppy one there in DC. And yeah, the pun was intended. They were slipping all over the place. They were playing in weather again. And man, I don't know. I think I've come to the conclusion that this Vegas team, they are just cursed. That's just it. It doesn't matter where they are. It seems like they are playing in some type of weather against the odds, and everything happens against them. Whether it be a call, whether it be the time run out on them, whether it be a player slip, and they throw an interception. It was, it's going to be a nice, easy, open play. The wide receiver slips. The defender runs right underneath it, catches it. It bounces off of the defender's hand. The wide receiver catches it, but he's out of bounds. I mean, it just like the list goes on and on and on. And it's one of those things to where now I'm starting to figure out, okay, wait, I'm like, okay, it was, I knew, it was the Guardians. They're the worst team in the league. After the just disaster that you saw unfold in front of your eyes with the Vipers, I don't know. I mean, this is when I do my power rankings, this is going to be tough. This is going to be a tough one here. But looking at the DC Defenders, the Defenders know who they are, and they played exactly like that. I wish the weather was good because I think that they would have had more fans there, though, for it to be as cold as what it was and to be rainy and wet and cold, hats off to, I'm not going to take my hat off, but you know what I mean. To the fans that were there, they still got their beer snake on. They still were rowdy. They still were a DC crowd. They were into this game the whole way, even though in the fourth quarter it was kind of over by then. Going into a few kind of comments that I do want to make on, the overall presentation before we actually start looking at any type of stats or anything of that nature. First and foremost, I want to say I really do like the access that we get to the the reffing, the umpires, the staff there, Dean Blandino. They're transparent about everything. They don't sugarcoat it. They tell you exactly what they would do, how they would do it. I mean, I love the fact that they were actually, Dean Blandino's like, yeah, I would have called that pass interference had he had challenged it. No problem. I would have turned that right over. It's like, it's just nice to know that if they're open about that stuff, and you can kind of see what's going on, especially with what's been happening with the NFL the past few years, the questioning of the officiating and these calls that they've had that have, really helped solidify games in the playoffs, like huge deals. So that is a breath of fresh air for me. This is, it could be, Tyler, you need to let it go. I love the access. Give it to me after the fact. I don't care about, it's cool every now and again to see, the offensive coordinator, do his thing and talk to him. Quit interviewing these guys in the middle of the game when, part of what he's doing is he's in the middle of game planning, and they're like, oh, it's game day. There's no game planning. There's a reason why they're 4-0. And not 0-4. It's because of all the preparation that they take to get themselves prepared, to get themselves ready. And for you to stick a mic in his face and require him to talk, that just throws everything off, and you're really hurting the product on the field. And I'm just kind of done with all of that stuff, from, missing touchdown passes, from not seeing things on the field, to guys not really wanting to talk to you, and I don't really blame them. Not in that setting, in that time. It's and it's tough on both sides, because Galloway, he wouldn't have gone over there on his own. They made him go over there and do it. It was part of what he's contractually obligated to do. But it's just like, let it go, guys. It's just tough. But anyways, so let's go ahead and let's look and see what we got here. Hundley started off the game, and you could definitely tell he was hurt from the get-go, and it just goes to show you the whole curse thing. I mean, the very first thing, they've got a different center playing. What do they do? He does a terrible snap, it gets fumbled, and DC is pretty much off to the races, and they lead the rest of the game. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that this Vipers team is cursed. But Luis Perez came in. He played decent. He did what Luis Perez does. The problem is he's not. He is not that game changer guy. So he was 23 for 32, 283 yards, threw the ball really decent, but when they needed him, he couldn't get the ball out. He held onto the ball way too long, and that cost him on the 4th and 15. You knew that they were coming after you. You got to get that ball out. You got to do something with it, and that was a struggle there. Hundley, you could just tell from the get-go he just wasn't feeling well, and it was the best decision to pull him out of the game. Hopefully he can figure out whatever he had going. It was a hamstring or whatever. I don't know, but hopefully he can get healthy so he can get back in here, because he really is their best option there. Run game wise, I thought both Levitt and Rod Smith did a good job, and I think that they're starting to figure out some of this stuff with the running game. But if they can't fix these self-inflicted wounds, nothing's going to matter. I mean, when you're getting penalty after penalty after penalty, and it's getting so monotonous. And it was just like towards the end of the game, it was just ridiculous, the penalties that they had. It doesn't matter, what you do or if you're going to have a run game. But it was fairly decent for them for a run game. It was one of their better showings. Rod Smith looking very good. Levitt also as well. I do not like the stuff they did with Jeff Badette. They need to stop that. Don't do that anymore. I'm not a fan of that. It's just, for me, it's almost like it's a wasted play. Looking at the receivers here, Badette had a nice showing as always. Sweeting had a couple of nice catches late. And it was kind of nice to see him get the touchdown after his feet were out of bounds when it went off the defender and he kind of caught it on that offsides play there. Bryant started getting into the mix in this one, so that was kind of nice and cool. They had a lot of guys getting involved, and it really had nothing to do, with that. There was just the self-inflicted wounds that really, really hurt them in this game, and I was actually kind of surprised with this. So, looking at it, they actually ended up having more yards than the DC defenders, and for as abysmal as what this game was, it actually had a lot more scoring in it. I mean, you had 32-18 is kind of surprising, but it felt more like it felt more like an 18-12 game or something like that. It was just a weird a weird situation, and all the way around. It's like the defenders would get up, Vipers would kind of start to look like they had life, and then they would find a way to fall on their face, and then DC defenders would then come back with it. On the defensive side of things, they again, it goes back to the self-inflicted wounds. Had they not have had all of the penalties that they had, they would have gotten more and more stops than what they did. But the problem was they kept giving first downs to the DC defenders, and the DC defenders just kept taking them and kept keep pounding and wear them out. What am I looking at here? So, like, for instance, time of possession. Yeah, so they had almost 3.5 more minutes than the Vipers did, and the Vipers had more yards than they did. It's they kind of they took advantage of it. That's really all I can say. Let's go ahead and let's switch over here to the defenders and look at what they've got on. I'm on the record of saying it, and I will continue to keep saying it. I am not a fan of the two quarterback system, but I will say this. It seems to be working for them, and D'Eriq King throwing the pass that he did at the end of the game, it really does put the league on notice that he will throw the ball, and and not just in limited capacity. That you need to pay attention to him, because if not, they could beat you deep. You're not going to be able just to come in and stuff in. You put up 9 guys in the box and just expect that you're going to be able to do that with him. That's not the case. Jordan Ta'amu had a decent showing. 14 for 19, 177 yards. He had a really, really nice long run on the day. I thought that his legs have really helped this offense to really come to life with it. Abram Smith, 22 carries, which was kind of crazy, but that's what the defense was giving them, and they kept just churning for yards and that. So all about it. Armstead, I thought had some decent runs. It was, interesting. D'Eriq King, you would have thought he would have had more than that, but he didn't. Blair's really starting to come along for them in the receiving core. He's been kind of a nice little bright spot. It was kind of cool to see Eazard. Eazard was kind of the guy they were kind of toting at the beginning of the season, and he really just hasn't gotten a lot of the receptions, and he had that really nice touchdown pass from D'Eriq King. So it was kind of cool to see him get to see that today. But yeah, they just the DC defenders do what they do. They run a decently balanced attack, and they're going to feature the run, and they're also going to beat you over top with the pass, and it really opens up their running game with it. This is going to be an interesting one now. So you've got this DC team who is 4-0 and a really, really solid team just across the the board. I think that they've got a pretty tenacious defense there, and they've I think that if they can continue to play like they are, this team's going to end up in the championship, and it'll be cool when they actually finally do play the Roughnecks, because they might have the formula to beat them. Like I said, I'm not a 2 quarterback kind of guy, but hey, it might work for them. But this North is really, really top heavy. You got 0-4 Vipers, and then from there, every team is at 500 or above. So it'll be really interesting to see how all of this transpires. And the other thing, as I'm looking ahead here, which is crazy, is next week DC is going into St. Louis. They're going to be at that dome in that place. They're going to want the BattleHawks are wanting revenge. I'm looking forward to that game. We've got our Thursday night game coming up. Man, that's going to be a long one again, a 10:31. But hey, we're going to stick it out for our Dragons here. All in all, though, it was a good weekend. I really, really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun watching football. Hopefully you did. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section, and we'll continue the conversation on down there. Listen, guys, I know that you're busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.